around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump. I'm your host, the hardest part of the ring, better known as Kyle. I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate my name into that. Like, I could be like, oh, it's the KY to the LE, the hardest part of the RING, or something like that, you know? Still workshopping it. I'm literally fighting my cat as I'm doing all this, by the way. He's like gnawing at my ankles because he's a needy fucking cocksucker. But tell you who isn't a cocksucker is these Ring of Honor wrestlers. Can you fuck off? Like, literally, he's like up in my lap with his claws in my penis while I'm trying to cut an intro. Where are we at? Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 2002. Man, oh man, that's a mouthful. But a great show nonetheless. You know, I was talking to my guest, and I think it's even in the recording. At the end, he asks me, where does this show rank among the ROH shows that I've covered so far? And I gotta be honest, even now that I've had time to think about it, I'd put it in the top 2 or 3. I think Honor Invades Boston is probably still my favorite, just because it had such a unique atmosphere and it had, like, we talk about it in the podcast, but I thought Honor Invades Boston is still my favorite up to this point. But this one would probably be number 2 or number 3. But as far as like influence on the future, this one might be the top because we see lots of stuff happen in this show. For one, by the way, the debut of CM Punk, and we just covered the debut of Samoa Joe in the previous Ring of Honor episode of the Apron Bump. Now we got CM Punk, and anybody that knows anything about Ring of Honor knows the battles that those two have had over the years. But we're not quite there yet. We're still at a point where CM Punk is wrestling Michael Shane and shit. So, but good to see him. Very interesting to see a young CM Punk. It's as always, it's hilarious to see the young iterations of a lot of these guys that we see on this show, like Daniel Bryan, for example, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, as I mentioned earlier. You got Christopher Daniels, Mickey James. I mean, this show is chock full of Hall of Fame talent, legends in the business, and just a great show from start to finish, in my opinion. And a lot of Japanese presence on this show, much like the previous couple shows. They're really starting to lean into that Japanese, the international flavor to their shows, how they kind of pull wrestlers from all over the world in major promotions all over in different continents and countries, and they all kind of aggregate them into one area, the Murphy Rec Center, the acclaimed Murphy Rec Center. And that's kind of what Ring of Honor becomes, and that's what makes it so successful in the years to come. So cool to see the early stages of that. But you got a lot of good wrestling on the show, but you also got, you know, there's women's wrestling, which at this point was very eye-rolling. You got people getting stabbed. It's just a lot. It's a lot. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Joining me on this episode is Dom from the Wrestling Should Be Fun podcast. You might remember this podcast from them being a guest on my show a few months ago for my Progress Chapter 9 review. I had Ross and Matt from the WSBF podcast on that episode. But now I have Dom, who was, I was told by whoever runs their Twitter that Dom is the guy for Ring of Honor talk. He's the expert. And boy, howdy, were they correct. He was an awesome guest on this show. Really fun dude. But you can find the Wrestling Should Be Fun podcast at WSB Fun on Twitter or at Wrestling Should Be Fun on Instagram. All of the info in the description as always. But both their Twitter and Instagram are like low-key the funniest accounts you could follow. So if you're not following them, get your ass on it and do it. Really great follow on social media and a really great podcast as well. So go check their podcast out as well, wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, always a great time with these guys. So let's get into it. Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 2002 with myself and Dom from the Wrestling Should Be Fun podcast. Aussie, okay. I was like, you're not quite British.
No. So I've lived in the UK for 7 years now. So I've been here for quite a while, and my girlfriend's British. But yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm from proper Bogan, Australia, mate. I'm from Queen.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a weird question. Do you ever watch Love Island?
Mate, my girlfriend does. I don't watch it.
Don't pretend like you don't enjoy it. It's okay. It's just me and you here. It's fine.
I know that I reckon if I did watch it, I'd probably like it, because I do like one of my favorite TV shows ever is like Survivor. Like I love reality TV.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you watch Big Brother at all?
I used to when I was younger. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's actually like the same people that make it, and it's fun to watch it with somebody to like make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of deal. But I mentioned it because I've seen the Australian version and the UK version, so I've kind of learned to discern between the two.
Yeah, right.
Finally.
I think
30 years into my life, I could finally figure it out.
From what I can gather, I think the Australian one's quite racy, right?
Racy,
right? Like as in like it's more explicit.
Right, it's harsh.
I think the people are more slutty, you know.
Yeah. Well, hey, nothing wrong with that.
Mate,
nothing wrong with that.
Big supporter of that. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got some of that in this show too. So
yeah. Oh,
don't you worry.
Oh,
man.
Mate, absolutely. Yeah. It's I just sort of watched. I started watching it yesterday and I finished it off today. And
yeah,
some of the stuff holds up well and some doesn't. Right.
It is 2002 after all. Everybody, it's easy to make fun of like WWE and stuff, but we forget that other companies are doing the same thing.
Yeah, big time. 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, so you said you watched the show. What were your overall thoughts, just like generally of the show?
So I was a big Ring of Honor fan in these early years, right? So I mean I was, used to be happily call myself a robot. I used to be on the message boards every day. Just loved it. But I guess over the last few years, I've really had like an urge to go back and rewatch some stuff, but you can't, because it's not on, like ROH World or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's weird that it's not. You would think they would just throw everything on there. You pay some money, $10 a month, whatever. I don't see why they don't. I don't know why. This is a weird one, but I actually messaged Marty Skrull once, and I was like, when he was working at Ring of Honor, and I was like, mate, what's the go with this? And he was like, yeah, we're trying to get it on. Like it's going up bit by bit, but I think it's to do with like music rights and all that sort of stuff. But they do copyright a lot of music. Yeah. Fortunately, on the link that we were watching it on, we were able to hear it all. But
it's a funny one because you sent me the link, which was cool. But I actually have the DVD of this show.
Do you really?
Yeah. So I got a friend of mine actually gave me all of his Ring of Honor DVDs recently because he's kind of fallen out of love with wrestling. And I was like, man, I'll take them. So so it was cool. Actually, I started watching it on the link, and then I actually went and dug out the DVD, which kind of felt more authentic as well in a way. So I felt, which is
Right.
kind of cool. But yeah, so you mentioned about the show. So like for me, it was just like a real blast from the past. And like, mate, I guess my major takeaway overall was just look at this roster. Like,
Yeah, and we're just like revving up in Ring of Honor at this point, but
Yeah.
already it's chock full of guys that are still going even today.
yeah, it's Hall of Fame like WWE roster. Like these are all my guys because like I said, I was a Ring of Honor guy. I was you know when I was at university and stuff, I was probably I was one of those guys that WWE sucks. I've probably gone full circle now, and I'm a lot more allowing of their product. But back then I was like, nah, WWE sucks. Ring of Honor is the only good wrestling. And like I only listen to Radiohead, that sort of thing.
Right,
Just
yeah. That kind of guy.
yeah, a bit too cool for school, you know what I mean? But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the show. What did you think?
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely, these early shows are kind of like the Murphy Rec Center. It's like tough to like ignore the weird atmosphere, but like they're starting to get guy like Samoa Joe debuted at the last show.
Yeah.
We have CM Punk debuting on this show, and we got like tons of other guys. I thought there were a lot of really good matches on this show. I think the show flowed very well. That was one thing that kind of hindered some of the earlier shows, was it was just like match, and it was kind of just had a weird flow to it. But I think they're starting to figure it out at this point, which I think they're like right at the end of 2002.
Yeah. Yeah, it took, because like everyone says about the early and the first year of Ring of Honor, they had a super cards, right? And they even sort of made fun of it themselves with like the Super Card of Honor show was like the name of one of their big shows of the year. But the first year, you could just see it was just, we'll get all this indie talent in and we'll see what we can book. Michael Shane versus Paul London, whatever. And then, but you can see here, they're actually starting to build storylines. I don't want, I'll let you lead the conversation because I don't want to jump around with like things that happen on the show out of order.
Hey, please do. Feel free to jump whenever you feel need to.
But like, just an example, you can see that like they're developing Homicide's character for the first time.
Right.
On the show.
Yes.
I think not. I'm a little bit sketchy on what happens before and after, but I think this is around about the time that Homicide starts to.
No, you're exactly right, because he debuts as in the Natural Born Sinners tag team. That goofy jumpsuit, the prison jumpsuit, and the mask, and the chainsaw
and
coming
the
out.
Chicken didn't they have like a rubber chicken.
He got disqualified in a match because he hit his opponent with a rubber chicken.
Yeah.
And then he stabbed the referee for disqualifying. This sounds like a joke. That's the thing that happened. It was actually H.C. Loke, a member of the Carnage crew, that he stabbed. So
of course, the hardcore referee. Hardcore referee H.C. Loke. Yeah.
Of course. Can't get enough of him.
Yeah.
But you said you had the DVD, so I'm curious. Was the dark match that occurred before the show on that DVD? Or was it the exact same thing?
It must have been.
Because I looked the card up and it had Prince Nana versus Homicide opening it up, but that wasn't on the link that I watched it on.
I didn't see that at all.
Sad.
You mentioned the DVD, and also just the way, like the show, the link that you sent was the exact same as the DVD.
Okay.
Something that is weird about these old Ring of Honor shows, and when I first watched Ring of Honor, I thought it was probably cool, but they have like almost like a spoiler music video to open the show.
Dude, I literally noted that. Like they've always had these really terrible intro packages. Like I've talked about it before, like the PowerPoint, Windows Media Player, transitions, screen wipes, and all that. But it was much more prominent in this show specifically. They were giving away these huge moments, huge spots. I even looked away because I was like, I don't want to see anything.
Yeah.
But I saw the pile driver from the top rope.
Mate,
from 100%.
That's what I was going to say too. I was like, mate, that's going to be the finish of their match. Why are you showing this? And like Joe's big dive, like Joe hits a big twist and tope. And they showed that, and I'm like, that's going to be a high spot of the match as well. Why give that away?
Yeah. Just crazy.
I suppose they were kind of of the mindset of, we released the DVDs a couple of months after the show's been on, so they're probably not that fussed about spoilers. They just want you to buy the DVD, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And I was never when it was on, I was never any good at avoiding the spoilers. Like I'd always read the show results ahead of time anyway. So.
Right. Yeah, I was even when I did see the spoilers, because I got caught onto it a few years in, but I would still be able to enjoy it just because it was so different than what WWE was doing that it didn't really matter a lot of the times.
Wait, I don't know if this is acceptable podcast content. But where are you based? Like, have you been to Ring of Honor Live and stuff?
I have not. So I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and they've done shows in Manassas, Virginia, which is it's still like that's like 4 or 5 hours away. Maybe I'm actually pretty close to Philly. I'm probably like 5 hours away from Philly, so relatively close in driving distance. But I wasn't able to drive when I discovered it, so it's not like I'm gonna walk to my parents like, hey, can I go to this indie wrestling show 5 hours away?
I love the way you say that. People in the UK would have a meltdown when they hear, 5 hours is pretty close.
That's like 5 countries away, right?
Yeah. Mate, 5 hours, you're in Paris over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have friends that go on like honeymoons and shit, and it's like, yeah, we started in Paris, then we went up to Rome, and then bing bang boom. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's just a different beast. Whereas like where I'm from in country Australia, like the nearest city's 3 hours away. Like you're just used to it. Sometimes you drive there and back in a day twice. It's no problem. Like,
well, you see, in my head as an American, you have Sydney, and then you just have a bunch of desert with kangaroos around it, and that's all Australia is.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, mate. You're spot on.
I think so. I'm pretty educated, if you can't tell. Lots of Love Island, all seasons.
Yeah, outstanding.
But speaking of love, I did not love this faction. No, so the show opens up. Well, actually, it doesn't open up, but basically to set the scene here as far as like where Ring of Honor is. So the Prophecy is the main faction of the show. So it's Christopher Daniels, Donovan Morgan, Samoa Joe, Xavier, and Simply Luscious. And they're pretty much running the show as far as titles go. Xavier, the champion. You have Daniels and Morgan, the tag champions. Otherwise, that's like the overarching, like, kind of main storyline going on is how they're trying to take it over and rebuild. Like, they're against the Code of Honor, they're against shaking hands and all that, which is a solid storyline because it's not what fans want to see. They want to see something different, and the Prophecy's almost like trying to keep that WWE mentality a little bit. So I do like that aspect of it. But also in this show, like I mentioned before, we get CM Punk making his debut. Samoa Joe, we're still fresh off of his debut from the last month. And then, you got AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, tons of other guys on this show. But also a big theme in this show and shows around this time is their relationship with Japan. In the main event, we see I think they phrase it as a 0-1 attraction match. Showcase, something like that. You have various like 0-1, New Japan, different Japan promotions all throughout the show. A lot of gaijins, so like Samoa Joe is wrestling in Japan, low key guys like that. So that would be a big aspect of Ring of Honor. What made them so good is their relationship with Japan, especially like Joe and Kenta Kobashi, like classic matches like that.
Yeah, a few years down the track. So like there was a period, and I guess at the time it was Noah. But they got all the big Noah stars in, so that included Kobashi. Misawa eventually came in, and then there were people like Takeshi Morishima was their world champion.
Right.
I hope that no one's listening has been like, oh damn, spoilers from 15 years ago. And then also people like Kenta, Hideo Itami, if you're a WWE
Hideo Itami, of course,
and Marufuji as well. So that was like the real sweet spot. I think that's probably the peak of Ring of Honor in my mind, but as far as storytelling and match quality, it's probably the peak. It might not be when they made the most money though. But
Morishima as champion is when I came in, so some reason that hooked me in. It was basically Japanese Walter. So
yeah, I love Morishima because it made me feel like I could be world champion.
Right?
he's just a big dude. Like I like it.
Yeah, but you're not going to tell that to his face.
Absolutely not.
Didn't he knock out Bryan Danielson's eye at one point or something like that?
Yeah, detached his retina, right?
Man.
Yeah, that was actually really scary. Like people were worried that Dragon wasn't going to get his sight back.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know why I remember it so specifically, but I remember him cutting a promo like right after that. He was like, "Oh, I might have to retire for this. I don't know if I can go anymore." And here he is, still wrestling. 15 years later? So
main event in WrestleMania.
Yeah,
so
casually.
It worked out okay for him in the end.
Yeah, I would say so. But the show gets underway, opens up with Steve Corino. He's in the backstage area, locker room, runs into Low Key, tells him that ROH management wants them to compete in a 0-1 showcase. against Masato Tanaka and Otani. And Low-Key's like, yeah, sure, I'd be honored, whatever. But so there's a whole thing, I don't know if you remember, where Low-Key and Steve Corino were a tag team, not like an official tag team, but they tagged together in the previous show. This is when CZW invaded for the first time, and they were basically defending Ring of Honor. Then there was like miscommunication, and I think Corino accidentally like forearmed Low-Key or something. So he's still pissed about that. Or sorry, not Low-Key, Homicide. Corino and Homicide were tagging. Homicide's back there as all this is going on, by the way. So Corino and Homicide are upset with each other. They're arguing, they're getting each other's face, they're comparing careers and all that, but it escalates quickly at the end of the show. I don't want to get into it. But man, they're very upset, especially Homicide. Yeah. If you don't believe me, just wait till the end of the show. But then I would go into the video package. Just as shitty as always. Their roster is growing, but their production skills are not.
Nah, mate. And it's always got that. And people used to make fun of it all the time, but that like terrible techno. Yeah.
It's like, I feel like half the roster uses it as their entrance music too. Yeah, Special K for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of Special K, they are included in this opening match. So we have a 4-way scramble tag team match. It's scramble because it means there's no tags, I guess. It's kind of becoming their thing at this point. So we have the Hit Squad versus Divine Storm, the team of Chris Divine and Quiet Storm, versus SAT, the Maximo Brothers, versus Special K, the team of Dixie and Joey Matthews. So Joey Matthews is a new member of this faction, and I guess it's because he likes drugs.
Yep, it seems that way.
That's the impression I got from this.
Yeah.
And for anybody unaware, Joey Matthews is Joey Mercury. So we're getting a little insight to his early career.
Yeah, and so I think how it came about is that they brought in Matthews with his ECW tag
Christian
York. Yep. But I think York got injured, so they were like, "Oh, Matthews is too good a wrestler to not have him do something." So we'll throw him in with the drug kids.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, obviously, because if you know sort of Matthew/Mercury's story, I think he did have some substance abuse problems in his career.
Maybe a rowdy, Peyton life or whatever the phrase is.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, who hasn't had some troubles over the years? So I'm not here throwing stones. It was interesting. I mentioned Special K straight off the front foot, mate. I always really thought it was quite clever, the Special K gimmick, just to put the green kids in there. And then they always had a fallback. If anyone botched a move, they could always be like, "Oh, that's what happens when you messed up on MDMA."
Oh, wow, I've never even thought about that, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, it didn't happen on this show, but I was waiting for it. Like, it used to happen quite a lot.
Yeah.
We got, because obviously on this show we've got it's definitely Gabe Sapolsky on commentary, and he's called they call him Chris Lovey at the time.
Right.
And the other guy was Jeff something, who wasn't a mainstay.
Gabe, was he the color guy or the play-by-play? Because there was one guy that was irritating the fuck out of me. It was like the higher-pitched voice guy.
Yeah, that's definitely Gabe. So it's funny, like I do, like the first thing I wrote down here, like I didn't make too many notes on the show, but one thing that stood out to me was, in my mind, I always thought that Gabe was a good commentator. Mm-hmm. And then I was watching this show back and I was like, oh man, I was just wrong. He is actually horrendous. And I don't like putting the boots into commentary too much because it is really hard to do. And I get that.
Right.
And I think it's a thing that all wrestling fans, everyone thinks they could do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all wrestling fans are like, oh, I could do that. But still, Gabe, maybe he gets better over time. But I've noticed that like, what he really labors to tell stories in his commentary, because obviously he's the booker, and he's like, and he's like, mate, just lay out and let the story tell itself in the ring. Exactly.
He's terrified of dead air, I think, is the problem.
Yeah, spot on. You
Yeah.
got it exactly spot on.
And it was even worse because before it was Gabe and Steve Carino on commentary, and Steve Carino was kind of the same way. So it was just constant yelling, and they're just always talking and always yelling, and they're out of breath halfway through the show. It's like, man, you're making me tired just listening to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
yeah, understandable. You want to get the stories over. Was a bit heavy-handed with like, this isn't sports entertainment. This is real wrestling. Like, we get it, man. You don't have to say it after every snap mirror that we see in the show, you know?
And like stuff like the big trope was always, you can't understand this atmosphere unless you buy a ticket and come to Ring of Honor Live. It's like, mate, all right, I've bought the DVD. Stop trying to sell me shit. Like,
they were saying, I think he said there was 500 people in the audience, but
yeah.
Maybe outside, maybe they turned away some people.
It was funny, the fans. There were a couple of like I do air quotations, the famous fans. There was I saw Green Lantern fan was in the front row.
Oh man,
he was a heavy hitter on the Ring of Honor message boards back in the day. I remember. And I'm sure Hat Guy from ECW was there as well.
You're getting deep.
Some
deep cuts. I love it.
Yeah. I told you I'm a Ring of Honor nerd,
mate. Perfect.
So yeah, I guess that first match, like there were just a couple of things that stood out to me.
Yeah.
So I was really expecting. So I think it's Divine, who was sort of known as like inventing all these moves, kind of like a Chris Kanyon style of character.
Yeah.
And he does what he called the spinal shock. And I was just waiting for the line on commentary, but it never came because I remember my memory was they used to always like call out Victoria because it was Victoria's finish. I think she called it the Widow's Peak or something. Yeah. And they used to always say on commentary, Victoria can steal that as much as she wants on Mondays. This is the inventor. And I was waiting for it, but it didn't come. But yeah, so that stood out to me. No Victoria shout out.
Right. What a shame.
Yeah. And then I liked, obviously, just a couple of cool things in the match. SAT hit the Spanish Fly.
Oh, that's what everybody comes to see. I think that was the Canadian Destroyer back in the day. It's like the move that everybody was like waiting for, and it always ended a match.
And everyone, like nowadays, everyone does it, right?
Right.
But I think it's important. It's cool that it's still called the Spanish Fly because they invented it, the SAT, the Spanish Announce Team, and that's why it's called that.
Right.
And I always sort of, I'm like, when I see the Spanish, I'm like, oh, it's good that it's still called the Spanish Fly. Shout out to the boys, you know?
Yeah.
Joel and Jose. What I like about it in this match, though, is when they hit it, they sell their stomachs.
Yes.
Like it. I'm like, people don't sell offensive moves enough, like to show that it's actual impact.
Right.
That was cool. And my favorite part of the match was the Fire Thunder Driver off the second rope from Monster
Mac. Yep, that was brutal, dude. Some of the stuff these guys were doing, like this match. So there's this opening match in this era. It's like a common theme. They'll start off with just a crazy scramble of a tag match, so that everybody could just show off their fancy moves. And today, I feel like people would roll their eyes at it just because it's very spotty. But back in the day, people were eating it up because, like I said, this is something you're not seeing this kind of stuff anywhere else. You never have. Maybe in like Japan or other places, but in America, for sure, you're not seeing this anywhere else. And lots of stuff, very innovative. Like I'm glad you brought like the backbreaker that Victoria did and the Spanish Fly. Today in 2021, that seems fairly commonplace. But in 2002, these were like completely like off the wall moves that you have never even thought of, much less seen.
And if you ask any of like the big high flyers now, like your Ricochets or your Will Ospreys, I'm sure I speak for them, which I will. But I think if you ask them, they'd say, oh yeah, my inspirations were these guys, like Amazing Red, SATs, whoever it might be. So it was just, like you said, you have to remember this was so cutting edge and innovative at the time, right?
Yeah, and I almost feel bad because like in the first couple shows that I reviewed, you had a lot of these guys and it just felt like a bunch of indie garbage in front of me, and there was like a lot of botches and stuff. But over time, these guys are improving. Like as I'm watching this, like SAT is amazing. They're a great tag team. Even Divine Storm, even though they're kind of like indescript kind of guys, like they're doing really innovative stuff. The Hit Squad is just like these big Samoan dudes that hit, like they're so fun to watch, even though it's probably a pain in the ass to wrestle them. Pain in the everywhere, really, as you described from that Fire Thunder driver from the second rope. Just the clotheslines. I mean, this match is chaos. Everybody's diving everywhere. There's these crazy suplexes and pile drivers all over the place. I did like the spot where SAT, one of them had Quiet Storm, and he gave him a German suplex, and then the other Maximo would come around the corner and give him another German suplex, and they did it like all four sides of the ring. Like simple stuff like that is just so fun. Like you don't really see that kind of stuff nowadays. And then they did the classic, opposite corner, like RVD and Sabu would do, or the Hardys would do, where each guy gets on the opposite corner. But they did a splash moonsault combo that looked beautiful. Like they're so like such a thin margin for error, but they're just so good. They made it look beautiful. And like you said, the finish comes with the double Spanish fly onto Dixie for the win. So SAT gets the win here. I don't know if there's really any stakes to this match, but I assume that it puts them close to a tag trophy shot at this point.
Yeah, they were the over team. They seemed to win all these scrambles, right? That, like you said, the Spanish fly is what people came to see and it finished matches.
Yeah, great stuff. Got the crowd hot, which is what it's there to do. So no complaints at all. Everybody shakes hands and hugs after, kind of embracing that Cone of Honor philosophy, which is kind of was their foundation for years to come. So good shit there. So after that, cuts to backstage with The Prophecy. So what are your thoughts on The Prophecy? I kind of laid out the faction earlier in the show, but what's your thought on this faction here?
Well, I wrote down on my sheet here, I was like, what was more 2002? The fact that the SAT were using Limp Bizkit for their entrance music, or then it cuts to backstage and Samoa Joe's got bleach blonde hair.
He looks like such a,
one of those,
like, he's not threatening at all. I know he would kick my ass, but like he looks just like a little kid with the blonde hair and the bangs and the hookah shell necklace or whatever. Yeah,
bookish. Yeah, I wouldn't know what to call it. I was going to try to explain.
Or hookah shell, whatever you call it. It's what everybody was wearing in 2002. All the boy bands.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just like, mate, this is the most 2002 thing I've ever seen from Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, but if you didn't know he was a badass, he just looks like a lovely, just like baby-faced assassin, I suppose you'd say.
Right.
So that was a funny thing. But the cool thing about the Prophecy at this time, I think, is that you can see that planting seeds with Samoa Joe and Steve Corino, because like they work towards. I'm sure that it's not long after this where there's the Prophecy have the feud with. It's actually Steve Corino's group, and that was the name of the faction, the group. Because obviously Joe, he does uphold the code of honor, and he's like, mate, I'm in the Prophecy because you pay me. It's not because I agree with you.
Right.
So I think they do a good job in like just throughout the show to show that and to lay some seeds for what's going to happen in the future. And then later on in the show, Samoa Joe actually accompanies Steve Corino to the ring as he's second, even though he's a member of the Prophecy. So there's a few little seeds there. So that's what I thought was interesting with the Prophecy. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm actually interested to see where this goes. It's the one thing that made me be like, oh, okay, there's something to be told for the next show here. Let's see if I've got that DVD, Final Battle or whatever the next show is going to be.
Yeah.
The actual promo itself backstage, I think Samoa Joe is still learning his craft. He probably went a bit over the top with
his. Yeah, I made that note too. His facials, like good or bad, whatever. It made me laugh my ass off. Just he's like sitting there, like laugh, like Christopher Daniels is so serious. He has his preacher garb all and his tie and his Xavier has his title and he's flexing and everybody's looking all mean, and you have just Samoa Joe and his t-shirt and his blonde hair just try not to laugh. It's like
and like when Xavier's talking, trying to say that he's the best, and Joe's in the background just shaking his head. He's like, mate, you're definitely not the best.
Are you sure?
Yeah. That type of thing. Yeah. So I was completely over the top, but you know what? It told a story. It it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Like I've got no problem with it. Like I say, people are learning their craft, and that's what they did in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did innovate in ring action and stuff like that, but it's also a place where all these guys got better and learned.
For sure.
And the last thing I forgot to mention was also Simply Luscious as well. She's obviously real life Steve Corino's girlfriend at this time.
Oh, is it real life? I was never sure.
Yeah, I believe so. So I think that when I actually had to Google it to check. Yeah.
Oh,
so
I'll never steer you wrong.
So she's So you can see where they're gonna plant these seeds for Steve Corino versus Prophecy in the future, and Joe and Simply Luscious jump ship in the future.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Joe's a ticking.
I think that's really
Joe's
cool.
a ticking time bomb at this point because he's just a matter of I don't know how long it is, but then he has that crazy 2-year long title reign, and he just dominates Ring of Honor. But he's just getting started at this point.
And he beat. So and it's Xavier that he wins the belt from. It's not far.
Yeah, I
It's
figured.
Only a few. Only a few months in the future.
You brought up Simply Luscious. I think it was funny that she brought up a poll she won on ROHWrestling.com or whatever it was. It was like, who's the most beautiful woman in Ring of Honor? And there's literally it's those two. Plus Trinity, I guess. I don't know. I didn't look at the poll. I don't know who was factored in it, but apparently Simply Luscious won. And I guess that's the basis for their match later on. You'd
have to wonder how much web traffic Ring of Honor Wrestling.com was getting at the time. I
don't know. I have no idea. Would it be a lot? Because it's like the internet fans are the ones watching this, right? So it's like,
I guess
who knows?
So. You can't imagine there were that many people voting in that, surely.
I can't. It's probably Steve Corino and Mace, But
and a couple and Green Lantern fan.
Yeah, exactly. He's voting 5 times.
Yeah.
Well, we have pretty much a third of the show in this next match is the Ring of Honor #1 contendership trophy gauntlet match. So we have, is it 6? No, it's 5. 5 people in this match. Michael Shane, CM Punk, American Dragon, Amazing Red, and Paul London. So like I said, this match, it was about 45 minutes long or so. It's a gauntlet match, so can't be too surprised. I'm curious though, what are your thoughts on gauntlet matches in general?
Well, I thought this one was really weird because they announced that AJ Styles was in it at the start. And you said 5 or 6, and I'm the same. I'm still confused because what happens is the winner of this gauntlet match with those 5 people you mentioned then ends up just facing AJ Styles in a straight up singles match about an hour later in the show. So you can't say if I was, and I guess we can talk about who wins it eventually. So, but if I was American Dragon and I'm like, oh, now I've got to wait an hour to fight a fresh AJ Styles for this #1 contenders trophy, I'd be fuming in kayfabe terms.
Yeah, because what did AJ Styles? Because spoiler, AJ Styles is the last person in this gauntlet, but he doesn't. Because they have the finals of this gauntlet in the second half of the show. So like you said, there's an hour or so in between. So it's like, why not just have Bryan Danielson versus AJ Styles? Why not just have that a standalone match in the main event and call it for the #1 contender? You know what I mean? Like, why wait? And then have Michael Shane versus CM Punk in a separate match. Have Paul London, and Amazing Red in a separate match. Or even make it like a tournament, like a single elimination tournament or something. There's so many other things you could do, but I feel like a gauntlet match was kind of an unnecessary layer to it.
Gauntlet matches, I think in general, you sort of... I don't think this one served its purpose because the reason that gauntlet matches work is if you want to take an Iron Man style wrestler and get them over as an Iron Man style wrestler. Kofi Kingston. I think Seth Rollins did it on Raw.
Yep.
Maybe a couple of years ago where he went over an hour.
He did.
Yeah. And that's a great purpose for a gauntlet match. Like building someone's, gas tank and showing, this is our Iron Man. But in this sense, it was almost like you said, it was just we want to try to tell 4 stories at once because they start off, the story in the first match is CM Punk's debuting. This is the best guy from Chicago. We've got him in against Michael Shane, who's actually genuinely Ring of Honor's sort of best heel in the first year. And Shane, what did he do? He grabbed the ropes or something to pin Punk. He cheated somehow.
Yeah, he did like they were trading roll-ups, and then Michael Shane got on top at some point and grabbed the ropes for the pin out of nowhere.
Leverage.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so weird to me though, because I know like CM Punk then takes the mantle pretty soon after this as the heel. So it was weird for me watching CM Punk work babyface and doing more athletic moves and stuff. He did that. He did like an old school rope walk, didn't he? Which was kind of cool.
The old school, but instead of just like a forearm, he did like a leg drop onto Michael Shane's leg, which looked really good.
Yeah, I can't remember CM Punk do that, or he probably did it loads of times, but I can't remember.
He broke out some stuff that I'd never seen him use before. Like he did a split-legged moonsault at one point.
Yeah, he split-legged moonsault. He used to. I don't think he did it here, but he used to always use a Shining Wizard a lot too.
Right.
Which are things that were sort of Ring of Honor Punk, but we never got to see him in WWE.
Was that his finisher at this point, or was he using the GTS at this point?
He definitely. He used the Pepsi Plunge.
Pepsi Plunge was his finisher. That's right.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. But even the Pepsi Plunge, like it's a top rope pedigree. Like he couldn't do it all the time, so he used to use the Wizard. He used to use the Anaconda Vice as well, like to finish people off.
Right. Yeah. But CM Punk versus Michael Shane, the first match in this gauntlet, and honestly, like, I was a bit underwhelmed by this first match, to be honest. I don't know if it's just because of like the juxtaposition from like the first match and how crazy and fast paced it was, and now we have this match, CM Punk and Michael Shane, which are like two very methodical, like quote unquote traditional style wrestlers. A lot of like chain wrestling and headlocks and stuff. The crowd was, that they loved CM Punk. I mean, CM Punk could have just dropped his pants down and took a shit in the middle of the ring, and they would have cheered for it. Like you could have done anything. Yeah. But it was definitely a slower pace than pretty much everything else on this card, I think.
Yeah, and then it was. I just think I never really got into Michael Shane. Just as a general rule.
I want to like him because I can see that he's a great heel. Like I can see it's like, because you hear it from the pros all the time, is like it's good to slow down. It's good not to rush. That's what a lot of people do when they start wrestling, is they rush, they try to do too much too fast. But whenever I watch Michael Shane, it's like I think this guy just took that to heart too much, and it's like he's like too slow almost.
And sometimes, like, I guess the criticism of him as well was like, Are you Michael Shane, or are you just Shawn Michaels' cousin? Because you could just see he never broke out past that of just everyone saying, "Oh, this is Shawn Michaels. This is the next Shawn Michaels," and he, like you say, takes it to heart too much. I think you could just see. I'm like, when you're watching him, it's like, mate, you're at the very best, you are Shawn Michaels light. And I think he would have been better served. And obviously, fantastic wrestler. I'm not here throwing stones. I'm from Wrestling Should Be Fun. So, we try to be positive. But it is, it's almost like I think he needed to figure out who Michael Shane was rather than just who Shawn Michaels' cousin was.
Because
sometimes.
I review shows from TNA in 2005 as well, and he's that's where he is at that point, and he's still doing pretty much the exact same thing. Like hey, look whose cousin is mine, and he's doing, he has a lot of the same mannerisms, a lot of this like similar hair and stuff. His name's similar. He does the elbow, the super kick. Like if he, like you said, if he carved his own path and made himself Michael Shane and not mini Shawn Michaels, I think he could have had more success, but unfortunately that's just a shadow that you're never gonna overcome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so the match, like we said, CM Punk is his debut. He's breaking out a lot of stuff. He does like a springboard crossbody from the top rope, gets caught with a super kick from Michael Shane, which looked really good. After that, Michael Shane goes for the picture perfect elbow, but misses, which allows Punk to hit the Shining Wizard, which I thought would be the finish, but it was only a 2 count. Then they trade roll-ups. Kind of brought this up earlier. They kind of jostle, they trade roll-ups, but Michael Shane is able to get on top of Punk, and he holds on to the ropes for leverage, and it gets the pinfall. So Michael Shane moves on in the gauntlet. It's kind of like an anticlimactic debut for CM Punk, I think. Just have him lose like that.
Yeah, it is strange. And it's clear that they just wanted to do London and Shane again.
You know, if it's worked before, so why not just keep doing it until it doesn't work, I guess, is their mentality.
Rinse, repeat.
Yep. So Paul London comes out as the next competitor. And they have a pretty solid match. You know, it's not quite as good as previous matches they've had, but it's solid. They fight to the outside in the beginning, and there's some gnarly bumps on the outside. Like Michael Shane whips Paul London into the barricade, and the barricade just explodes. Like, I've talked about these steel like guardrails before that Ring of Honor had at this point. What's even the purpose? Like, they're not.
Yeah, no. They are just there, like you said, to explode. They're made of like chicken wire. Like,
they're not weighed down with anything. They're not in the ground. They're just there. You know?
And there's just so many famous moments in the early days where just wrestlers just got messed up, like just flying through them, falling on them. Yeah, it's really like
did more harm than good. Yeah,
definitely.
But they're out there fighting on the basketball court, and you have like Michael Shane giving Paul London a brain buster out there. You have all sorts of crazy shit happening on the outside. But eventually they get back in the ring. Michael Shane hits a power. This spot made me laugh. Michael Shane hits a power bomb, and then was it a Boston Crab he was going for? Do you know what I'm talking about? It was like he was holding him vertical, but he was acting like it was a submission. I was like, do you know the concept of a Boston Crab and why it would hurt?
Yeah, like what? Yeah, what are you going for here?
Yeah. He's just kind of holding his legs.
It's one of those ones, and I've mentioned it before. You know, someone who doesn't watch wrestling. There's sometimes when you have to try to explain which wrestler's being hurt in a move to people that, because obviously we grew up with wrestling or whatever, so we just you just know what's happening. But yeah, so that was definitely an example of that. Like, what's going on here? Who's being hurt? Like, yeah.
But then, so later in the match, towards the end, Michael Shane hits a gut buster on the Paul London, and then back to the commentary. He's like, I think it's Chris Levy or Gabe Sapolsky, whoever it is.
Yeah.
He's like, I think London landed funny on his ribs there. And I was like, yeah, I think that was the intent of the move. I think was to make his ribs hurt.
Yeah,
a rib breaker. I think that was the idea. But the idea here is that London is playing possum, like he's for real injured, and then he's able to catch Michael Shane with a DDT out of nowhere and rolls him up for the quick win. And that plays into the story of how Michael Shane beat Paul London a few months ago by playing possum with a roll-up. So kind of a one-upping of Michael Shane here.
Yeah.
Which I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's good. It's storytelling between the shows as well. But then Shane gets on the microphone afterwards, doesn't he? And he's like, "Oh,
he does.
How dare you, sort of take a shortcut?" And obviously, this is one of the times when the commentary really tried to tell the story like too hard. When it's like, mate, we get it. Like, Michael Shane used the rope to beat CM Punk, and then he got caught by Paul London doing a similar type of thing. And you didn't need to explain it like so obviously to the audience. Like,
one mention could have sufficed. Like, I understand if you want to bring it up for people if they just buy this DVD, without seeing the previous ones. I get it, but they, like you said, it was very heavy-handed the way they did it.
And this is where, so what happens? Michael Shane, he sort of like refuses to leave.
So Paul London, as per the code of honor, tries to shake Michael Shane's hand, but Michael Shane will not shake his hand because of what you mentioned, how he won in a cheap way like that. He's like, I'm not going to shake your hand. I would never win like that. But then somebody comes out to make Michael Shane shake his hand. I would never have guessed. Tommy Dreamer comes out.
It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, when you think about it, it does. I mean, they're in Philly. What the fuck is Tommy Dreamer? Is he with the WWE at this point? I'm not sure. I think it's...
Mate, I was thinking about that too. So I was doing the timeline in my mind, and I'm like, he must have been still there because the invasion was 2001.
Correct.
And then Dreamer... So I'm thinking 2002. This must have been when Dreamer was doing all that like weird gross out stuff on WWE TV, right? Around about.
Yeah.
That must, because like, when he... Do you know what I'm talking about, right? When he's like drinking toilet water and like he eats the Undertaker's...
What's up?
He like
tell me about it.
No, all right. Yeah, so like Tommy Dreamer on Raw, like he did this gimmick where he was like, he just does gross things. And like people are like paying him money. People are like, oh, I'll give you $20 if you like eat garbage. and he just
what
do
a
it.
gimmick.
Yeah, but the famous one, and he said like the worst thing that he had to do was like Undertaker used to have chewing tobacco,
Yeah.
and like what do you call it in America? Is it dip or something?
Dip. Yeah.
Yeah. So and he's like, and then he spits it out, and they made Tommy Dreamer eat it.
You're fucking with me. This isn't
No, legit. Yeah.
Oh my god. See, 2002 WWE is like a lost era for me because I wasn't watching in that year. So there's like little things that people will say is like, what?
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, yeah, and that's why I was, brought over to Ring of Honor and why I love this shit. So
Tommy Dreamer drinking dip spit wasn't enough to keep you on TNN or whatever channel they were on at the time.
But I mean, I still watched it. I just didn't like it. But so I imagine that Dreamer was still under WWE contract. There might be someone listening to this that has a better.
Because there was a period. I know he wasn't he like winning the hardcore title and stuff like that. And I think he was there like during the brand extension, right? Because he was on Raw, I think.
Yep. I mean, he was around.
Yeah.
He was around for a long time because then he went and worked at OVW as a coach and stuff. I think. He was under contract there for a long time. I'm sure he was. So
maybe he just didn't say anything and just banked on nobody watching this DVD.
I'm sure. You know what though, WWE, it's funny. Like I think in this time they allowed people to go and do some indie stuff. Now
that I think about it.
Yeah.
There was overlap with Eddie Guerrero as well because there was a period where he was Intercontinental Champion in WWE, but he also wrestled in Ring of Honor. He wrestled like one more match for Ring of Honor as he was champion. So they were probably fine because they weren't threatened by Ring of Honor or anything. So it was like, you go wrestle for these nerds in this basketball court.
And I think they've always, and obviously over time, WWE did gain respect for Ring of Honor because it became almost like a little bit of a feeder system to them. Like they cleaned it out eventually.
I mean, look at their roster now. It's pretty much Ring of Honor 2006.
Yeah, exactly right. So like the other example I think of like that probably just proves the point is like Jerry Lawler. I mean, he's always wrestled his own Memphis indie shows, hasn't he? His whole career.
Yeah.
So I think as long as it's not going to like ruin your TV storyline or character, I think WWE have always been okay about that sort of stuff. But I imagine that they probably didn't want Tommy Dreamer to come and start taking bumps. They probably just like, go do an appearance. Philadelphia, they love you there. And fuck me, did he get a reaction, right?
Dude, the crowd went ape shit because it was unannounced, unadvertised. He comes out. So like I said, Michael Shane is kind of walking away from Paul London, won't shake his hand. Tommy Dreamer comes out, basically, points back to the ring, tells Michael Shane to get back in there. So Michael Shane, Paul London, and Tommy Dreamer are all in the ring. Tommy cuts this really great promo, really heartfelt, basically compares the Murphy Rec Center, which is the place that they're at, compares it to the ECW arena, because obviously it's still Philly, and it's, that underground kind of alternative to the WWE, which is what ECW embodied back in the day. And he says that this place is a place of honor, and it's something special, just like ECW was. So there's a tie in there. And it seemed pretty genuine coming from Tommy Dreamer. But he had a funny line. He was like, maybe someday WWE is going to scoop some of these guys up and take right.
Probably.
You're right, Thomas. So Dreamer and Michael Shane shake hands. Dreamer and London shake hands. But then London puts his hand out to shake Michael Shane's hand. Michael Shane shakes it, but then pulls him in, that dastardly heel, for a clothesline. Dreamer's pissed. It's funny because I think he said he like broke something in his face, so he couldn't yell and he couldn't make really extreme like facial expressions. So he's just sitting there like behind him like a disgruntled father, and he just DDTs the shit out of Michael Shane. That's all the crowd wanted. So that was beautiful stuff. And then he tells the music man to play my music, and they play Man in the Box just like ECW. It was perfect. I love this aspect of the show. Yeah.
And it just shows like what a big crossover there was between ECW and Ring of Honor. It's easy to forget that now, but Ring of Honor was born out of the slipstream of ECW. So
exactly. So that happens. Paul London, the winner, is still out there, and then Amazing Red comes out. And mind you, we're still in this one singular match that we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah.
But it's broken up by stuff like that, which is, I guess it can be a good thing because it breaks it up, but also it's like, why just not have it separate matches? But I digress. So we have Paul London versus Amazing Red. It was a solid match. It wasn't, I feel like if it was a standalone match, with more time, it would have been something special. But this seemed kind of just like an between gauntlet matches for me. There's a crazy spot where Amazing Red hits. I think this is the part where they're both on the top rope, standing on the turnbuckle, like all rickety and shit. And you hear the "Please don't die" chants.
Yeah. Amazing
Red hits the damnedest like top rope head scissor. It's not a Hurricane Rana. He like turns 180 and then does a head scissor off the top rope. It could have been bad, but it looked graceful as hell.
Yeah. The old "Please don't die" chants that became a staple of Paul London's Ring of Honor career.
How that man is still walking around to this day it baffles me.
That's how he got himself over, just by dare I say, killing himself. Like you say, brain busters on the floor, and it's easy to forget that like this. It's probably not the like most solid ring. It was dangerous for two people to be doing like a big, whatever you want to call it, a Rana bomb or whatever off the top, like crazy stuff. Talking about Amazing Red, I'm jumping in now. Like, and talking about 2002, he was wearing like, instead of a ring jacket, he just had like a double extra large, almost like an Ed Hardy unbuttoned shirt on that was like flames and stuff. I was like,
it's pretty cool.
It's
very
cool.
Early 2000s American. Very Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit, but also like cross with like you're part of a cool bowling team.
A cool bowling team. I didn't know those existed.
I can imagine in the bowling league, like the heels.
Are there heels in bowling? I'm unaware.
Yeah, I don't know if you. I don't know if you like The Simpsons, Carl, but like the holy rollers in the Pin Pals episode of The Simpsons. Yeah.
Oh, I never would have compared Amazing Red to that, but it all makes sense when you put it that way.
Yeah. There's intertextuality everywhere you look, mate.
Everywhere.
Amazing Red does this really, and he did stuff like this all the time, but it's almost like you can see, and I mentioned Ospreay and Ricochet earlier. It's like you could see that Red was the first guy to be doing that, almost like, I don't want to say scripted, but like 3 or 4 moves all in a row that flow. Like he'd do stuff where he'd miss a kick, spin around, do a sweep in one motion, and then hit the Red Star press.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think a lot of other people were doing that at the time.
Right. No, Amazing Red is probably one of the more influential wrestlers of all time, especially when you look at wrestling today and the style. I mean, Amazing Red, like you said, he was a pioneer of that style. Yeah. Like at this point, he busted out a shooting star press from just a standing position, which today you see everybody doing that. You see 300-pounders doing that, but back then it was like, how does this happen? And it's so hectic, everything he does. Like you said, because he combines moves one after the other. So it's just so fast. And it's so like, he hasn't, it's not always smooth, but a lot of the times it is.
Yeah. He was amazing. Like,
he's also red.
I can't believe I've just said that. So,
get the hell out of here. Podcast over.
I was lucky enough to see him. It must have been 2 years ago. He did a couple of shots over here in the UK, and he wrestled Park in London.
Wow.
For Rev Pro.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not 2002 Red, but he can still play the hits. And it was just so great.
I can imagine.
I just got really drunk and loved every second of it.
How do you not, though?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was just, and like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, this is my childhood.
Right.
But in 2019, loved it. It was so good.
I bet.
Yeah. And I just think, if I think about the first year of Ring of Honor and like who the guys were, who are the homegrown stars, Red and London, they're right up there at the top of the list, They're 2 guys that got themselves over, just like I said, by killing themselves. So it was just cool to see them wrestle.
Yeah. But the match, this part of the gauntlet, comes to an end when London hits a sky high, followed by a shooting star press from the top rope that crazy, that Paul London style. He just gets up there, waits a little bit, and then flips. Hits it onto red for the win. So Paul London moves on, which brings out American Dragon. He's looking pretty beefy here. Would you agree? Because I know he's fresh off of his Japan tour that he just recently got off of. He's looking pretty jacked, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, he looks like a different body type. But I just wonder if that's because, definitely this is probably pre-vegan. Pre-vegan dragon, which is an interesting phrase. But
is it though? Because I always thought his finisher was called cattle mutilation because I thought that was like a nod to his veganism.
Mate, there you go. You've taught me something.
I'm just guessing. I don't know if he invented it. Maybe somebody else invented it. Who knows? I don't know anything about wrestling. But
no, he would have. I know that the cattle mutilation. I know for a while it was called Arms Across America before this.
Right.
So I'm sure that he made up the name cattle mutilation as well. But I just never really understood what it meant, to be honest. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that does actually make sense.
He probably still has some meat in his system though, which is probably what he's running off of.
But and the other thing is, I just wonder if like when you do see him on WWE TV, because everybody else is much bigger, maybe just comparatively.
Right.
It's like when you like in a film, Tom Cruise isn't allowed to stand next to anyone that's like big. You know what I mean? Like it's like a reference sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess when you're standing next to Paul London from 2002, anybody's gonna look big. So that's probably
maybe.
And he faces AJ Styles later, and he's not exactly a giant himself. So, but this match here, London versus Dragon, again, another match that sounds like I think they do end up having a few matches later down the line that are amazing. But this is kind of just like almost a teaser here.
Yeah, there's one particular at a show called The Epic Encounter, and I'm sure you'll get there with your reviews one day, Kyle. It's special. It stands out.
I think I've actually seen it a long time ago, just like standalone match, and I can't wait till I get to that era. Believe me. But so this match starts off in American Dragon. He's using this size as his advantage, also based off of London having two previous matches before this. So Dragon dominates most of the match. Really stiff amateur wrestling in the beginning, like very intentful, like strong amateur wrestling in the beginning. Really stiff uppercuts, European uppercuts as well from Danielson. But London fights back at some point, hits some big moves, hits a tornado DDT, hits a Russian leg sweep from the second rope, which is weird but fun.
It was weird.
But Dragon eventually locks in the cattle mutilation, and London taps out pretty much immediately. So it told the story of what it was supposed to tell. It's using the gauntlet match and how fatigued London is and how at a disadvantage he is. But it almost gives a sense of like, it's a little unfair, don't you think?
Yeah. But it also... Yeah, it's just an excuse to have London lose as well. Like it keeps London strong, doesn't it? Because eventually, he gets a shot at the title eventually as well. So
right, yeah, I suppose if that's what they're going for, it fit. But I believe that's the last match of this portion of the gauntlet, I guess. And then at this point, they make an announcement that Dragon is going to fight AJ Styles later, which is like, why not just have it now?
I didn't understand. I was expecting Styles to come out.
There's no Dragon wouldn't be any more at a disadvantage than London was in the match that you just had. So it's like, why does Dragon need an hour to rest? If I don't know, especially if he's going to end up losing, you might as well just keep it going. But I guess they want to keep people after intermission, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was weird, but I do think that. At this time, AJ was kind of seen as their biggest star, I think. Mm-hmm. So maybe they just wanted to keep him for the semi-main. I'm not sure. That's
very true. He was already making a name for himself in TNA.
The other thing I was thinking is I wonder if AJ had another booking on that day. I mean, this is something that you'd have to go and look up, which I haven't. I wonder if he had a show, somewhere else.
Something tells me if that were true, they would have mentioned that on commentary. I feel like there's no like barriers to what they mention on commentary. So I feel like, but that could still be true. Maybe just, didn't get word to the commentary team or something, but I wouldn't put that past them. That's for sure. Especially how these guys were working so much back then. But so that sets up one of the main events of the show. But that brings us to a 6-man tag team match, the first ever 6-man tag in Ring of Honor history here, actually. And weirdly, it's for the tag team titles. You heard that right. So the titles meant for 2 people is being defended in a 6-man tag match. And they kind of, so they defend this concept. Commentary is even like, I think it's Gabe. He says, defending the titles in a 6-man. What kind of booking is this? Like he phrases it like that. It's like, yeah. Why don't you tell me why? But they defend it because it's a trophy, right? So it's not like we have 2 belts we're defending. We have 1 trophy that we're defending. So we can defend it how we see fit. That was their explanation.
And they tell the story like that it was Daniels who wanted to have it as a trophy instead of belts. So anyone from the Prophecy could defend it, which I get is like the Freebird rule or whatever. But I don't know. People have tried stuff like this. I know that like obviously like our home promotion over here is Progress Wrestling.
Yes.
The Wrestling Should Be Fun boys. And they tried, when they first started, they didn't have tag team belts. They had like this shield.
I just covered that show recently. I think, no, it wasn't The Wrestling Should Be Fun, but I covered that show recently within the past few months. And yeah, like you said, they had the it was 1 shield broken in half and then they like put them together.
And like, I get it trying something different, but at the end of the day, everyone just ends up going back to belts.
Yep.
Like, it's what people know for wrestling. It's just
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. So, but anyway, I get it. Trying something different. Daniel says, I want it to be a trophy so we can all defend it. Fine, whatever. But there just seems to be a lot of trophies because there's the number 1 contenders trophy.
Yeah.
And then the tag trophy. And then
they probably had a clearance sale at the trophy store down the street. So like, hey, let's create some titles. Let's create some stakes for these matches.
This month's show is sponsored by Joe's Trophies. Find them on the corner.
Has a bowler on top of it. Don't look at it. Don't worry about it. We're not HD yet. You can't see it.
So yeah, I thought the 6-man was pretty cool, but I found that was weird when Gabe was like, "Oh, who booked this?" or what? And I was like, "Mate, like, don't try to be. We all know you're the booker. Like, don't try to be too cute. Like, like I do have I don't know. There's a fine line because sometimes it's great fun when someone just bends kayfabe a little bit. Maybe someone might use a real name or whatever instead of a wrestler's name. It's like sometimes it's cute, but sometimes it's like, nah, just let us pretend it's real, please.
Yeah, they're just trying to be the other end of the spectrum from what WWE is, who is like super kayfabe. So they're just trying to be so different, but it's like it's too much. They're overshooting it a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe, too much. It's good if it's not funny and it's not cool. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you something. What are your thoughts on Donovan Morgan?
Well, I to me, he's just like he's elusive. I don't know. He's just a guy. He's got a weird name. He didn't really stand out to me.
He's got a weird name. Let me tell you this. This drove me crazy what he did. So he's a part of the Prophecy. He's the heel. They're the biggest heel faction in the company. Match gets underway. Donovan Morgan's in there. All right, everybody, you're the fucking heel. What are you doing, man? It's like he doesn't even understand what the storyline is, or he's just there. He's just there to fill a number.
I'm sure that he must have been Daniel's buddy or something, though. Like,
I think he was.
And I wonder, like, I'm looking at him, I'm like, is he sort of like a bit of a veteran on the card? Like, because he must be a bit older. Like, I get the feeling that he has some fame from somewhere else other than being the first Ring of Honor tag team trophy holder. But
man, that's crazy.
I don't really know much about him. And he never, like, when I watched this in 2002, I was probably like, oh, this guy's just boring because he doesn't do a red star press,
Right.
And I watch now and I'm like, oh, this guy seems technically solid, but there's not much to him. I don't know what am I meant to grab onto with him, right?
He's like if like a Luther Reigns was a better wrestler. Like he just doesn't have a lot of descript features about him. He's just he's solid, like you said, but when you have the roster that you have and then they would continue to build onto, like Donovan Morgan, He's not going to be the guy people come to see.
Because I think that I think that he was in a tag team with Mike Modest. I'm going out on a limb here. Someone's listening to this and going, "Nah,
I believe you."
Wrong. But don't. You can send all your hate mail to the Apron Bump podcast.
I'm gonna edit that out.
What do I care? No, I think that's where he was known from. He was a tag team wrestler with Mike Modest. So I guess they're trying to draw on that. Maybe he's a veteran tag team wrestler.
He feels like a tag team wrestler. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. But I don't even know if I mentioned who's in this match. So we have the Prophecy. So we have Christopher Daniels, Donovan Morgan, and Samoa Joe versus the team of Doug Williams, your boy. No, you're Australian, so that's not your boy. So Homicide and Low Key. So, a lot of good talent in this match. Homicide, like you mentioned, he's kind of breaking off as a singles guy, even though he's in a tag match here. But he's his own character, and he's super over already. People love him. He's the Notorious 187, I think is what he calls himself.
Yep.
Kind of already embracing that character. And he has a hot tag in this match that's amazing. The cop killer finisher that he keeps teasing, that's banned. Keeps teasing, like all that stuff. I really enjoyed this match, actually. It was kind of a little bit slow in the beginning, but it picked up towards the end. And it was it was chaotic, but it was more like a controlled chaos, more so than what we saw like in the opening match. Towards the end, like everybody's hitting their finishers and everything, but everything seemed cohesive at the end.
Yeah. There was like a really cool part, and I don't think they got it exactly right. But leading into the finish, where before they all started hitting their finishes, they were all trying to hook their finishes, and they all just kept getting broken up by someone else coming in, which I thought that part was really cool. And I just thought it was a great match. I didn't really have many takeaways on it. I just thought it was a really good match. And my thing was exactly what you said. I think I mentioned earlier, but this seemed to me like the moment when Homicide was made in Ring of Honor. To me, I was like, oh, this clearly, they must have been watching this Ring of Honor and going, oh, this is our star. Like, this is a new star that we've got. The way the fans responded to him, and it was just, he stood out in that match. Him and Joe were the standouts in the match, because Joe's got the storyline with the Prophecy. Side was just the standout player. I wonder who would have got to be tag team champions on the challengers side had they won.
Right, they didn't really explain it. I guess it still would have been all three of them with that logic that they used.
Why was Doug Williams, why was he there? Was he just doing them a favor?
Well, it's funny because the commentary, and we're kind of shitting on the commentary, but they did a good thing at the beginning. They kind of put over the international flavor of this match and how each guy wrestled in Japan or somewhere else internationally, and then that they're all collectively in one spot here, which is what kind of Ring of Honor was their appeal, is you have all these people all around the world want to come to this one spot. So I did like that aspect of this match. I think that was a cool underlying story here. But as far as takeaways from this match, there's just some like Samoa Joe. God, I love Samoa Joe, man, especially young Samoa Joe. I love how he just doesn't give a shit. Like, there's a spot where Doug Williams, he's trying to lock in this double, like he has a gory special on one guy, and he's trying to get a Boston Crab, like is this like really like complex submission, and then Samoa Joe just comes in and just kicks him right in the fucking face. He's just like, he tags in and he's like, all right, I'm done playing around. And he's hitting these like really snappy suplexes on everybody, and like you said, he even does a Flosberry flop, I believe it's called, or at least it was kind of almost. It was pretty much like he just jumped. He did basically jumped over the top rope backwards, essentially what it was. But it was still hell impressive for a guy his size.
There was another time when I think everyone was sort of hitting their finishes, but Joe just hits like a massive insecurity on someone instead. Last Rites, Chaos Theory, Key Crusher, but then Joe's like, I'll just do a kick. I'll just kick someone.
And you believe it. You believe that it could finish the match, anything Samoa Joe does. Like I said, great false finishes in this match. A lot of good double team maneuvers, really innovative stuff. Even like watching this today in today's lenses, a lot of innovative stuff. Kind of broke down at the end with everybody hitting their finishers, but the finish comes. when Samoa Joe hits Homicide with a powerbomb. You know, the classic spot where he holds him in the powerbomb position for a pin. They kick out. He transitions into an STF. But he transitions from that into the Coquina Clutch, which causes Homicide to pass out. So the Prophecy wins, retains their trophy. And like you mentioned earlier, Samoa Joe shakes the hands of all his opponents because he doesn't abide by the mentality that the Prophecy goes. So he's just a paid assassin. And Daniels and Morgan are all pissed. I think Daniels even's like, "What the fuck is he doing?"
Yeah,
right, like right into the camera. Daniels was cracking me up. There was another spot I forgot to mention where Daniels hits a Uranagi onto Doug Williams, and then he looks at his opponent. He's like, "Moonsault, bitch!" And then he just goes and does the best moonsault ever. It's like, that is cold as ice, Daniels. Yeah, love it. But yeah, any other takeaways from that match?
Mate, I think that was about it. I think there was one part that was interesting to me was when Homicide had Joe hooked up for the cop killer. And I was like, that would have been interesting to see if he could have got him up. And I'm sure he does, because they wrestled 100 times after this.
They wrestle on the next show, actually.
Oh, do they?
I looked at the card after this, yeah. So hopefully, if I see that, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting, but I just know that he eventually does hit it on Joe. But I was just like, when I was watching this, I was like, no, because that would be...
That's a heavy landing.
Yeah. But mate, that was a bit like genuinely my takeaway from this match was I really enjoyed it. It's probably my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, I probably would agree as well. Actually, I don't know. What do you think about this next match? I think it could be a candidate. We have Allison Danger versus Alexis Lurie, aka Mickey James. Yeah. Thoughts?
A couple of very quick thoughts. The number one is how far has women's wrestling in the United States come?
Yes, absolutely.
And you could see, and like they're trying hard, and obviously we know Mickey James, Alexis Lurie goes on to be a great worker and very respected and Hall of Famer in WWE, all that stuff, I'm sure. But it was it's bad. But the wrestling wasn't my least favorite part of the match. Once again, and it's a bit of a theme here, but fucking hell, the commentary was actually a little bit upsetting at one point. I think I didn't write down what Gabe said, but it was just it was like real weird, like sexist. He said something like, "Oh, these girls, their hands are gonna be on each other, and they're gonna end up spanking each other. I can't wait to see this." And I was actually like, "Mate, that's not just." I mean, I can take a joke as well as anyone, but I was like, mate, that's upsetting. Like, I'm glad no one else is in this room watching this with me. That people will be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's one thing to like make that reference, but to do it in such like a clumsy, like just on the nose way that he did, it was like,
because it wasn't even funny. It was just like gross.
No. He even mentions, I think it's in this match where he's like, when did I become Jerry Lawler? It's like, we know that's what you're trying to do, bud. You don't need to tell us that explicitly. Yeah.
But at least like Lawler, and I know Lawler, like his stuff is bad as well in hindsight, but at least he was funny.
Yeah. At least he did it in a way that was, entertaining in some aspects, at least. At least for the time, it was entertaining.
Yeah. But no, it was, for me, this was not just the low point in the ring, obviously, but that goes without saying. At least they're trying to give these two wrestlers some time on the show and give them a chance. Yeah. But the commentary just for me, it really felt bad. It was just and it was 18 years ago or whatever, or 19 years ago, but still, even then I think it was tone deaf. It's poor.
It was pretty rough. And Allison Danger, of course, is accompanied by Mace of the Christopher Street Connection. And boy, if you want to hear some rough commentary, listen to some of the first shows with the Christopher Street Connection. And it's bad.
Really, just really bad. Like the sort of things that I wouldn't even want to comment on. And I know that was their gimmick, and they were all for it, and they were trying to perpetuate this type of gimmick, and it probably made them some money,
Never works.
But it's not stuff that It's don't bother going back and watching any early Christopher Street connection with the bananas and all that stuff that they were doing. It was just
because they're like penises, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I get it now.
I hear those fellows are quite keen to a good penis every now and then.
I get it. Yeah.
But the match itself here, not a lot to it. There's even one point where it like cuts, like they cut part of it out. I don't know if you caught that, but they're like fighting on the outside, and all of a sudden they're like getting back in the ring on the opposite side. So I'm curious as to what happened that they cut out, or maybe they just were like, let's move it along. You know, maybe it was a lot of plotting nonsense.
I didn't notice that because I was just genuinely on my phone.
If you would have blinked, you would have missed it.
Yeah, so I just it didn't stand out to me at all. I kind of wanted it to be over. Just because honestly, and this is the truth, like the commentary took me out of it from the start. I was like, no,
I don't blame you.
Nah. Yeah.
But Mickey ultimately hits a reverse DDT for the win. Allison's pretty much, I don't know if she like was a legit wrestler or if she was just there to be a valet, but she was definitely positioned as like a fish out of water here, and Alexis Lurie was the true wrestler. So it was essentially a squash match here. But then after the match, Mace gets in there, the man from the Christopher Street connection. I don't know where his partner is, but he gets in there and he just punches Mickey James right in the face. Yeah. But I guess it's okay because he's a homosexual. Maybe is that the rules? I'm unclear sometimes.
Those are not the rules, but I think in wrestling, maybe those are the rules.
Yeah, it punches her, gives her like a T-bone suplex kind of deal, lays her out. And like I said, I looked at the card after this, and there's actually a match between Mace and Alexis Lurie. So I'll keep you updated.
And I'm sure Alexis Lurie is going to go over.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we spoke about the prophecy storyline with Steve Corino, right? Do you know what happens with Allison Danger in that storyline after this?
I don't.
So did you know that Allison Danger is Steve Corino's sister?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so Allison Danger is Steve Corino's sister. So when Simply Luscious breaks away from the prophecy to be with Corino, Christopher Daniels goes and gets Allison Danger to join the prophecy. No. He's like, oh, well, you took Simply Luscious, but I've got your sister. And then, they became one of the hottest acts in Ring of Honor. Like, Danger in the prophecy is great.
Yeah, really, is it? Great. Okay. Better than Luscious?
Way better than Luscious. Danger
be worse.
She dresses up like a slutty nurse all the time and stuff. It's, not that that's the most important part, but I'm just saying.
That's what I look for in wrestling. The more slutty nurses, the better.
She plays the character very well. I said nurse. I meant to say nun. Nun, not nurse. Sorry, that was my message.
Never mind then. There goes my boner.
Yeah. I do not stand for blasphemy. So that's going to be the positive to come out of this if we can, give it a month or two and we get Danger in the prophecy and Luscious with Steve Corino, and it's good.
Looking forward to it. Good fun. Yeah. Speaking of good fun, we have a bunkhouse match coming up next. I saw this on the card and I was like, man, we're about to have a war in our hands. But it's a squash. I don't know why they even called it a bunkhouse match. It could have just been a match with chairs. Because that's essentially what it is. So we have the Carnage Crew versus the Ring Crew Express. So the team of Dunn and Marcos, who have been on most of the cards actually up to this point, but they just been the jobber guys. So I was like, oh man, maybe they're gonna use weapons. They're gonna get the upper hand here, be in this match. But nope. It is it's pretty much a squash. And they're putting over, I guess Carnage Crew is facing Abdullah the Butcher and somebody else at a future show. So they're basically, this match is here to serve the purpose of building up the Carnage Crew, making them look like beasts. And that's kind of what happens. I mean, it's a very short match. Chairs get involved. There's even, so it's the Ring Crew Express. So you have like random guys outside of those two guys, like try to come in and help. Like these random ass dudes in carpenter jeans just sprinting in the ring, but they just get shit canned right away. And then, like you said, that spike pile driver off the second rope that they spoiled with the intro package is the finish here. Probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes in. But yeah, not a lot to that match. Just here to make the Carnage Crew look dominant, I guess.
But does a good job of it, right? Like the Carnage Crew did look legit after this. I think a lot of people remember the DeVito from ECW. He was like a bit of a joke with the Angels group. What were they called? The Baldies. They're like a bit of a joke. And then obviously HC Loc was a referee. But then in Ring of Honor, they actually did a good job of making them look like badasses. So yeah, they're building towards. I'm sure that it's Abby and Homicide teams with him. I'm sure. So
right.
Yeah, so that's at a show called Night of the Butcher.
Yes.
Coming up. So yeah, but no, cool. I was glad it was short because I was just like,
that's all it needed to be.
Yeah, I don't need to see Dunn and Marcos rocking anyone like a hurricane tonight. Just, hit your pile driver. That's good. Yeah, good stuff in the Carnage crew.
Maybe they'll get them next time. Yeah. But speaking of ECW, we have JT Smith making an appearance. You a big JT Smith fan?
I can't say I am. This was a blank spot for me. I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Was he in the FBI, JT
Yeah.
Smith? He was.
Yeah.
So I also do a timeline of the mid 90s with ECW, and it was their first Extreme Championship Wrestling show. JT Smith opened the show against Hack Myers. So that's all my knowledge of JT Smith is very early ECW doing weird. I remember a spot he did where he took a chair and tried to do a backflip and hit his opponent, but it just looks stupid. Like that's who JT Smith is in my eyes right now. I was like, oh, it's that guy coming out.
Yeah.
And because it's the ECW theme here, you have Dreamer earlier and stuff like that. So
and then it's Joey Matthews who comes out to disrespect him. But it was just it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I wasn't 100% sure.
It's him, and I think it's all Special K comes out there, and you have Joey Matthews. I guess they're all hopped up on drugs, all the marijuanas that the kids are doing these days. He's like pie facing JT Smith, like come on, and then JT punches him, but they gang up on him. And I don't know where this rake came from, but someone pulls out a rake and just beats the shit out of JT Smith with it. I don't know if that's just what they had lying around. It was like, hey, let's use this rake. But then two guys come out to make the save. Do you know who these two guys were that came out to make the save?
They were a tag team later on, I think, called the Outcast Killers. So I can't remember their names. One of them was called Orman Tortuga, I think. Tortuga and someone else. You're really testing my knowledge now, but yeah,
you could say any word, and I'd be like, okay, that sounds right.
Yeah. But then the interesting one, and this is like one of the Ring of Honor ones that never really got paid off. It's like Ring of Honor's GTV, or like who raised the briefcase at the King of the Ring,
who threw a pie at Kevin Owens.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the big security guard that ends up with Special K, who just comes in and does like a run. He breaks one of the guardrails, which was funny.
Yes, that was great. I love that.
To get through. And then he shook JT Smith's hand. And I'm like, again, I don't know where they're going with this. I didn't know, because I know that like the FBI were on some of the early shows in Ring of Honor, like Marmaluke and Nunzio.
Yep.
Little Guido, I should say. But I just don't know where they were going with this, and if
because Nunzio, I believe, just got signed like a month or two before this to WWE, because him and Mamaluke had a match in the previous show, and it was like a loser leaves town kind of deal. So Mamaluke won. I think Mamaluke's still around there in Ring of Honor, but Nunzio's gone. And like you said, this guy, the security guard, he's made run-ins on pretty much every show thus far in Ring of Honor. They don't really mention why. He doesn't have a name. He just always comes in there, gives one guy a choke slam, and then gives another guy like a big ending kind of move.
Yeah, it is big ending, yeah.
And it just kind of bounces and just kind of gets back in the crowd and stands in the shadows with his glasses and his suit. So you're saying we don't get a reason?
I'm sure he ends up with Special K, but I don't think it ever ends up being anything that's paid off or anything good. And I like the fact that I can't remember his name.
It's not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't. I'm pretty sure that's a decent indication that it doesn't really ever come to anything.
Man, what a shame. But we have up next, just kind of kind of somewhat in the middle of the show. The Ring of Honor World title is on the line. The champion, Xavier, accompanied by Simply Luscious, versus Jay Briscoe. When it comes to Xavier, man, like, I don't know. It's tough to buy him as the best guy in the company.
Yeah.
With
Big
all
time.
these guys, even if you look at it in kayfabe or, you know, just in realistic terms with all the talent that's around him, it's tough to believe that he's the top of the mountain here.
Yeah. And that was the thing about him, I think. I'm sure that's why they put the belt on him, because he wasn't
Yeah.
American Dragon. He wasn't low key. I'm sure they wanted a heel champion that was like someone who could have a match with everyone, but someone who wasn't going to outshine the others. I'm sure that there was some thought behind it in that way. And that's why Daniels wanted him with the title. And it's almost like, well, Daniels knew that he was never as good as Daniels.
Right.
You know, so like it's almost like Daniels, he's like, well, this is how ridiculous your promotion is. Like, I've got the title in my faction on a guy that's not as good as I am.
I actually like that. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I do like that logic. So that'll be the canon in my head as I watch this, because it makes sense that way.
And he also, like, Xavier he was always trying to avoid defending the title against any of the big hitters.
Yeah.
He's always trying to run away from AJ Styles or American Dragon or Paul London.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next show he faces Jeremy Lopez, which, you know, guys like that, he'll fight. But then he runs into, I think you said Samoa Joe that he loses to, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So, yeah. But Xavier, he looked like a star. Like, he looked like the prototypical guy you'd see in WWE as like a mainstay there. But he just, you know, he didn't have a lot of substance. Kind of similar to Donovan Morgan. Like, he had a good look. He was solid, but just not a lot of, you know, that extra, I guess, it factor to put him above everybody else. But he had a good little run here in the early days of Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And 18-year-old Jay Briscoe. Like,
oh man, it is. Every time I see Jay Briscoe, man, I don't get desensitized to it, because I've been watching all these shows in order, and every time I see him, it's like, God damn, that guy is still there.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's just baby, because he has a gray beard now, and we're looking at him in a singlet, just with the clean face, just ready to wrestle. It's like, man, what an evolution that guy sees. But
and obviously, you know, I think the commentary does a good job. You know, saying he's got all the tools, but it's clear that Xavier has handpicked him because he's not ready yet.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's got one weapon, which is the J Driller. And there's always there's a threat during the match. The psychology is, well, if he can hook you with his finish, he will beat you. But if you're Xavier, if you can avoid that, you should be okay.
So the mentality here, and I don't know if you caught this or not, but they had a match at the previous show, Xavier and Jay Briscoe. It was a non-title match where Jay Briscoe won with the J Driller. So it's basically like you lost to this before, so if he hits you with it again, you're definitely going to lose. So I do like that aspect of the story going into this. As far as the match goes, it was fine. A really crazy split leg moonsault from Xavier. He's on the top rope, and Jay is on the outside, and he jumps, does like a 90-degree spin, and then does the moonsault off the rope. Could have gone very bad, but looked good. Jay gets busted open at some point. I didn't really catch when he got cut, but he's just pouring blood all down his face.
And the sort of blood that you would never ever see in wrestling on TV again. Yeah. Like, we're never going to see a blade job like that before. Like, again. So Jay Briscoe is kind of famous in these early days of Ring of Honor for the way he did bleed. There's a famous cage match against Samoa Joe at probably Ring of Honor's best ever show called At Our Best.
Yeah.
And it's sickening, the amount of blood. You know, someone like me who loves that shit, you know, deathmatch wrestling and stuff. I loved it, but it was a proper gusher.
Yikes.
So fair play, Jay. You just would never see that anymore.
Right. Just getting started, I guess, with that. But towards the end, Simply Luscious, who's out there, she slides a chair to distract the ref, and then crotches Jay on the top rope, and then Xavier hits the X breaker, which is basically a neck breaker, rude awakening, whatever you want to call it, for the win. So Xavier gets the dusty WWE style finish, but I guess that's the story of the prophecy and kind of what their gimmick entails. So made sense, but yeah, that's pretty much all it was to me.
The main takeaway for me about Xavier all these years later is he had the worst names of moves. The X-Breaker is so shit. And then, I don't know if it's the same move. I can't quite remember now. But then for a while, his finisher was called Kiss Your Ex Goodbye.
That's pretty funny.
Like,
that's pretty fun.
It's so shit.
What was the move? Was it like a super kick?
I don't know, mate. I wonder if it was... But now I'm like, maybe he changed it. Because I think he always used that... It's just a neck breaker with their arms crossed.
Yeah, it makes it X.
Yeah. No, I get... Oh, mate, it's very...
His name's Xavier. It starts with an X. Do you get it? He only did it 12 times during the match.
And the all-round best. But Kiss Your Ex Goodbye. It's not... I always like... Even when I was 15, I was like, that is so shit.
Maybe that's why he didn't have more success than that. But
yeah.
So that brings us to the co-main event. The ROH number one contender trophy is on the line. So this is the finals of the gauntlet match that we saw earlier. American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus AJ Styles. Two guys that we saw wrestle each other literally months ago on WWE. It's still so crazy to me, man. Yeah. Seeing their early work here, but really, I enjoyed this match. Really intense amateur wrestling at the start, like that was kind of Dragon's thing, right? Like he would do all the chain wrestling, but he would do it with like intent. Like he would try to hurt you with his headlocks and his waist locks and stuff like that. It looked legit because AJ Styles, he's also like, people forget he's a great amateur wrestler and he has that background himself too. So he was able to go toe for toe with Dragon here, but Bryan, the bigger guy, is able to dominate it a little bit. And once again, just like Jay Briscoe, Bryan gets busted open at some point. I think he got kneed when AJ did that backflip into the DDT thing that he always does. I think he caught a knee on that. Do you think that's where he got busted open? So what else? There's a fun spot here where they basically, I think it's Danielson puts a Muda lock onto AJ, and they both like kind of reverse each other, and they fight to where they're both on their knees, and they're both like like wrenching back and forth, and then the ref has to break it up because it's like a stalemate. That's like, I've never seen anything like that. So it's fun and innovative stuff like that always pops me.
Yeah. During all the first stages of the match, it just reminded me what was great about Dragon in this time was like the intensity that he brought to mat wrestling.
Yes.
Like even little things that he would do, it made it look like he was really trying to hurt you. And, he might not be the biggest guy in the world, but he was like just so intense and almost angry. Like he just, and that really stood out. He wasn't just rolling around on the mat for the sake of it. It felt like he was trying to out wrestle you. And it felt like every second of that was like a contest between the two of them. Right.
Yeah.
Which is why it was cool. And a lot of people have tried to imitate that, but haven't been able to as well as he can do. American Dragon might, it depends on the day who my favorite wrestler of all time is, but he's right up there, right?
Absolutely.
But if someone asks me why he's special, it's hard to put my finger on it. But it's little things like that. I'm like, it's actually, he approaches everything with that intensity. That's all. Yeah, that's all I was going to say there.
Yeah. It makes it, like you said, it makes it like it's a fight and not like they're working together, the opponents. It's like they're fighting against each other. And AJ, to his credit, was fighting right back at him with it because there's a spot where they're trading slaps, so the wrestling's out the window, so they're just slapping the shit out of each other, and they both miss a discus clothesline. So Bryan goes for one, he misses. AJ goes for one, he misses, and then they both go for it and they both hit. Like that kind of stuff just always gets me. It was a really good spot there.
I loved there was a spot when it started to get a little bit more high impact. Maybe it was towards the end of the match actually, where Dragon does a German suplex, and it's like it's a bridging German suplex, and it's a really close like 2.8 count, right? Mm-hmm. But AJ kicks out, and Dragon just is still holding the bridge.
It's like he's actually trying to pin him.
Yeah, and he's just there. He's still holding the bridge even after he's kicked out.
Yeah.
I was like, that was really cool. You don't see anyone do that. It's almost like he's just going to show like, I've still got plenty in the tank here.
Just
like
a savage.
I can hold this. Yeah, I can hold this bridge. I'm a machine.
Yeah.
That it's weird what stands out to you in a match, but yeah, that stood out to me.
No, I remember that too. That was a great little aspect of it too. You have AJ hitting the Styles Clash, but only for a 2 count. You have Bryan lucking in the cattle mutilation again, but AJ's able to fight out into he actually gets into a pinning predicament, but fights out of that. But the finish comes, and I love the finish to this match because the constant theme here is it feels like these guys are fighting against each other, not working together for just the flashy, smooth spots and transitions. So you have Bryan is basically, he's on the top rope, and he gets crotched by AJ. So AJ tries to pull him off into the Styles Clash position. But so he's got him by the waist. He has his legs around his shoulders, but Bryan is still, he has both his hands on the ropes in the corner. And AJ's pulling him, but Bryan won't let go. He's pulling him. So he just slams him down on his back, which causes Bryan to, release control of his hands on the ropes. And then AJ has to power bomb him like 2 or 3 more times, all while maintaining control. And then finally hits the Styles Clash for the win.
And like the second time that he power bombs him, I don't know whether it was on purpose, but it was almost like he didn't want to do that power bomb, but he just couldn't quite get him up for the start. It's exactly what you said. It's almost like one of those instances where something that is not exactly clean makes the match better.
Right, because it makes it realistic. AJ and Low-Key had a match a few months before this that was very similar. It felt like very like a true contest. So maybe AJ is the common denominator here. So that's just a testament to his abilities. It's about even 18, 19 years ago. And then so AJ gets the win here. So he's the new number 1 contender. And I guess he'll face Xavier at a future show. But then so Bryan, they shake hands. Bryan walks to the back. And as he walks through the curtain, that damn prophecy is here again. And they just mug Bryan right behind the curtain, beat the hell out of him, and then they storm to the ring and do the same to AJ. But then Jay Briscoe comes out to help. I think he has a chair or something, but he runs all of them away. And there's kind of a theme here, actually. A few shows in a row where it's like 3 baby faces run off the prophecy, and they're all always different. So, but the prophecy is the common denominator, the common heel faction that everybody's trying to overcome. So.
So Jay Briscoe was there. I think the storyline, if I remember correctly, is because Mark Briscoe, his brother, joins the prophecy.
Does he?
Jay, I thought that might have already happened. Sorry if I've given a spoiler for a future show.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. I think so. Mark joins the prophecy, so I think Jay hates them obviously because they're brainwashing his little brother.
Well, they end up being a team. Like when did they start teaming, the Briscoes?
I'm sure that the only reason they're not teaming is because Mark can't work on any of the shows in Pennsylvania because he's too young.
Yeah.
But he's 17 and Jay's 18. And I think as soon as Mark turns 18, they just tag everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny because they had a show in Boston a few months before this. And I guess in Boston, you don't have to be 18. And Mark and Jay just happen to have the best, probably. I've watched all the shows up to this point chronologically, and it's probably my favorite match so far is Mark versus Jay at Honor Invades Boston. Just they're brothers, great chemistry. But
that's a great match. It's a famous match in the early years of Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
and then keep an eye out when they do start tag teaming. They wrestle against AJ Styles and Amazing Red. So the Amazing Phenomenon versus the Briscoes, they really stood out in the early years of Ring of Honor as well.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Keep an eye out for them.
For sure. But that brings us to the main event. It's weird though. It feels more like a post show than a main event. Almost like a post show dark match kind of feel to it. It's Low-Key and Steve Corino. This is the match that was set up in the opening segment. And Samoa Joe is out there with Steve Corino, and they're facing off against Masato Tanaka and Shinjiro Otani. Did I get that right? Yeah. Did I get that name right?
I reckon that's right. I'm sure everyone knows Otani. I believe he was the first WCW Cruiserweight champion.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure. I think he beat Brian Pillman in like the finals of their tournament for like the first Cruiserweight champion. So yeah, he's got a history in the United States as well as Japan.
That's awesome. Yeah, because because I've heard the name before, and I know, facially who he is, but is he mainly known for his 0-1 stuff? Would you say?
I imagine so. Now, I'm no Japanese wrestling pundit, so but I think that is true, and this is definitely the 0-1 show. I wonder. I think so. 0-1 was only a more like a later promotion though, like in the 2000s or the late 90s. I think where they came to prominence. I'm not sure if Otani was around in the 90s with All Japan,
Right.
or maybe New Japan. I'm trying to think who WCW had their relationship with in the 90s. Maybe it was New Japan.
I think it was New Japan that they had a relationship with, so that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I think maybe he made his name maybe in New Japan if I'm remembering that correctly.
And then we have Tanaka, who is known for getting hit with steel chairs by Mike Awesome. So that's the team that we have here. But not a lot really, stuck out to me. It was a fun match, a lot of stiff kicks from everybody involved. Crowd popped really hard for Otani's face wash in the corner. Yeah, it's like the people's elbow of Ring of Honor. I think it's how they described it, but it was true. Anything else that stick out in this match to you?
I like that. I like that Low-Ki wore tights.
Why didn't he wear tights in his first match?
Yeah, because he never wore tights in his Ring of Honor run for some reason.
This is the first time that he wore them. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd always wear those black shorts. I'm sure that is Nike basketball shorts. But obviously he's like, oh, this is a 0-1 showcase, so I'll put on the 0-1 tights. Which I thought was cool. I was just like, that's just a nice little wrinkle in the storytelling. It's almost like you said, it's almost like a post-show dark match. It just shows it's different. And then, Carino had tights on as well because, when we think of Carino in ECW and stuff, he was kind of known for wearing jeans and a t-shirt in his matches and stuff. Yeah. Tanaka, known for being a hardcore guy. It was almost like, hey, we're going to work a wrestling match here. And it was something different. It wasn't about feuds. It was just a wrestling match, athletic competition. We're all wearing tights. It was about respect.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have Carino, who's one of the biggest heels at this point, and you have Low-Ki, who's one of the biggest baby faces, but they're teaming, and there's no really I don't think there's any point where there's any tension between them. I mean, the finish comes that there is miscommunication that causes the finish. So Ki will go for a springboard kick off the second rope, but Tanaka ducks and Ki accidentally hits Carino. Then Tanaka hits Low-Ki with a brutal lariat, and Otani picks up Carino with Otani hits Carino with a springboard drop kick, followed by a beautiful looking spiral powerbomb, I think it was called. And that gets him the win. So the Tanaka and Otani get the win here in the main event.
Yeah. And everyone goes home happy, right?
I suppose so. Yeah, a little feel good.
I think, like you say, there's not a lot of analysis to it. It was just an okay little tag match and a chance to see Tanaka from ECW fame and Otani in the States. I'm sure that it must have been a big deal, for that fan group at that time. I didn't know anything about Japanese wrestling then, but I'm sure it would be like now if Shingo or something came over to and worked imagine like a GCW show, whoever the biggest indie is in America at the moment, PWG, whatever.
And Ring of Honor, even in recent years, they've brought over Okada and Tanahashi to Ring of Honor. It still feels like a big deal. So I think it's a similar deal, just an earlier iteration of that Japanese, because it's obviously a lot of crossover between people who watch Ring of Honor and people who watch Japanese wrestling. So it's just cool, like we mentioned before, it's guys from all over the world in one place, and I think that was the appeal of Ring of Honor, and it seems like what they showed off here in the main event.
Definitely.
But I know what you're thinking. You're like, I need at least one stabbing before I could be finished watching this show. Yeah. Well, good. Don't worry, because Homicide's here for you. So after this match is over, they cut backstage. The Hit Squad is walking around backstage. They stumble upon Homicide sharpening a blade. He's still pissed off about Carino and their little miscommunication.
You know what it is?
What's
it's
up?
A fork.
Oh, was it a fork? Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
really. I think I missed it, but that sounds
Yeah,
right actually.
so he tapes. It's taped up, and he's sharpening the trident, the prongs of the fork. And later on, I don't think this is an inappropriate term, but he calls it a ghetto fork.
A ghetto fork.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know, maybe that's what they call it in the streets.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure, but yeah. Anyway, that's what he was using.
Okay. Well, that makes it seem pretty menacing, actually. So he takes this fork and goes and finds Steve Corino, and who happens to be like in the next room, and stabs him in the head. And then the show is over.
Yeah.
So thoughts on ROH? So I guess it's fine.
Do you know what though? It's silly, but Homicide versus Carino does end up being probably the hottest blood feud in Ring of Honor. You know, they ended up, going in a barbed wire match and stuff like that. Like they have every death match style you can have in the future. So it does have to be something quite violent to get it kicked off, I guess. And I'm trying to remember, but I think the story is going to be that the fork got him in the ear or the eye or something. I'm pretty sure it does. Like maybe the next show he comes out with like an eye patch or something.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the story. But wait and see. I can't remember exactly. But I think back, this really brought back something that I loved about Ring of Honor. And like, even though a lot of the shows were just super shows of indie wrestlers and good matches, they always had something at the end to make you want to buy the next DVD or in my case, download it off whatever from back in the day.
uTorrent.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
LimeWire.
And so yeah, it left you wanting to watch the next one.
Yeah.
It wasn't car crash TV like Vince Russo, but they always had something at the end.
Right.
So I've always enjoyed that aspect of Ring of Honor.
Yeah, for sure. They did that very well. But that brings the show to a close. So, All-Star Extravaganza 2002. As a whole, I think I really enjoyed this show.
You said that you've seen all the shows in chronological order. Where do you think this one would sort of rank? I mean, I don't want to put the pressure on you.
Yeah, it's funny. They kind of blur together. The one show, Honor Invades Boston, that I brought up earlier, that was the one show that wasn't in the Murphy Rec Center, so that stands out because that had that Mark versus Jay Briscoe match. That also had the Low Key versus AJ match. That was really great. And he had like the scramble match kind of stuff in the beginning. That might be my favorite show I've seen thus far. But this one, it'd probably be 2 or 3, I think, just because there wasn't a lot of dead air other than the women's match, but like that was short enough. But I really like the gauntlet. We talked about the gauntlet concept, but a lot of the matches included within that gauntlet were great. Great seeing Tommy Dreamer. Loved Dragon versus AJ. Loved the 6-man. I didn't even expect to love it as much as I did, but I loved it. So overall, I'd put this probably 2 or 3 as far as what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good show. Actually, I probably thought that this was about as good as the first year of Ring of Honor got.
Yeah.
I was, thinking about the roster. It's funny, like if you put this, like just broke these matches down, it could easily still be a pay-per-view card today.
Yeah.
AJ Styles versus American Dragon in a main event. And then, even the Dream Tag match at the end. I mean, Tanaka still wrestles. I don't think Otani does, but that could still be a main event today. Paul London versus Amazing Red. I could definitely see that main eventing an indie show, but it would also be I could see that on AEW for sure.
Yeah.
So it's just such a stacked roster. Like, I mean, I just would encourage anyone that can get their hands on these shows to go back and see where these stars were born, because it just gives you another perspective on these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing guys like Samoa Joe at his best and young AJ, young Bryan. We don't even have like Chris Hero yet, or Steen, Generica, all these guys. It's like they're still building. But they're definitely getting a buzz at this point. But yeah, that brings it to a close. Once again, man, thank you for making the time to watch the show, to come on and talk some wrestling, 2002 indie wrestling with me.
Mate, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, and absolutely anytime you want to do it again, man, let us know, and we'll have you on our show one day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wrestling should be fun. Where can everybody find you guys and listen to you guys?
Yeah, anywhere you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. If you type in Wrestling Should Be Fun, you'll find us. Also on Twitter, capital WSBFUN, and on Instagram, Wrestling Should Be Fun, all one word. I run the Instagram, and that's why there are nowhere near as many followers as the Twitter. But yeah, the podcast is the main thing we're trying to push at the moment. So yeah, give us a look, download, don't listen, whatever.
Just have it on. That's what I tell people. Just hit play and walk away, go do your dishes or something. No, you guys do really have a great podcast. I had, I think it was Ross and Matt, I believe, for a progress review a couple months ago. I'd love to have them on at some point again too. You guys are all great. Always welcome.
Yeah.
Always welcome back.
Oh, cheers, man.
Once again, thank you to Dom from the Wrestling Should Be Fun podcast for joining me on this episode. A rootin' tootin' good time. Loved covering the show with Dom. Definitely have him and the other lads from the Wrestling Should Be Fun podcast. Go check them out. Definitely want to have them on again. All their info in the description below. Fuck, why did I say it like that? I'm gonna leave it in. But yeah, if you enjoy these Ring of Honor reviews, as I do, apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab, select ROH, and it'll bring you to all of the Ring of Honor shows up to this point that I have reviewed. Low-key, some of my favorite shows to review. It's just such an interesting... It's interesting to witness the building blocks get built, I guess. I don't know. I don't know anything about construction. But yeah, so go check that out, as well as all of my episodes from all my different timelines that I have going on. Check out my YouTube as well for the video version of this episode and all my episodes. Some YouTube specific content on there as well. If you're not subscribed to me on YouTube right now, well, then I'm going to come over there and give you a little kiss on the cheek until you do so. But other than that, have a blessed day. Thank you guys once again for listening. I'm hard.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what